the drink. There's no citric acid. Everything that I did was all natural acids. Citric acid's natural, but I didn't add anything additional other than the fruit itself, a little bit of maybe fresh lemon juice, and then a little bit of the spirit to put in it to stabilize.
Just for the listeners that are inexperienced with these types of drinks, tell us why it's important that it's balanced like that and that you're not getting too much of one thing over the other.
Well, first off, you want to showcase the spirit. That's the most important thing. You want to have, that's why you're ordering it. Without throwing out a name brand, if you wanted a rye bourbon cocktail, but you want to taste the notes that come out of that bourbon and not just disguise it with, different flavors. That's part of the experience. It's like, oh wow, I'm drinking my favorite spirit and it's paired with, a particular fruit or citrus and it's just delicious. Or it's a classic named cocktail and you want the very best of that, whether it's an old fashioned or a barreled aged old fashioned or a Manhattan or an aviation or any of those classic cocktails. You put it to memory. It's just like drinking a glass of wine. And when you have a great one, that's all you want is that great one. And then if you have something that's subpar, you'll know it's subpar and then you won't go back to it.
Mm-hmm. I think most of my listeners know that I was the founder of Azuña Tequila, and we made a lot of cocktails. And I remember our mixologist, prior to having your expertise involved, talked about making agave-forward drinks. And, I always liked that term, first of all, because I knew that we were an agave spirit. But I thought I'd never looked at a cocktail that way, where when you go to take a sip, you want the agave or the spirit to be the front runner, and then the other items within that cocktail being the supporters. But at the same time, when you talk about balance, you don't want to have the harshness of the alcohol percentage and maybe too much agave and not enough of something else, or have too much of that citrus like you talked about. That is an art form within itself. How do you teach yourself that? Is that just through tasting and experience or knowing how different things interact with themselves? Because I'm always wondering how these cocktails come about that are just absolutely amazing.
Well, we all have different palates, and a lot of mixologists are at different, they're all different ages. So, when you're younger, typically, you typically like more sweeter cocktails. But for myself, I have an innate ability, and I thank my father for that, being in the kitchen with him and seeing what he did on a day-to-day basis. For me, I just know when it tastes right for myself. And you always have to allow for leeway, because not everything that you like or I like is something that somebody else is going to like. So you should always allow for a little bit of room for adjustment, and make sure. And one of my biggest things that is very important when it comes to making a cocktail, you can make cocktails that are balanced all day long, but if the measurements don't fit into the vessel correctly, then it's going to throw it off. Mm-hmm. And that's always been one of my guidelines. Is that's great that you have these measurements, but does it fit into that standard restaurant glass, which is either a 12 ounce or a 14 ounce? Some restaurants, some national and regional accounts only use pint glasses. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep in mind, okay, I've got a 16 ounce vessel. We're going to put ice in it. How much liquid is that actually going to hold? You may develop a cocktail that is perfect for a 12 ounce, and then you try to put it in a 16 and it doesn't fit. So what does the average bar staff do? They try to fix it by just filling it up with liquid and not understanding what is needed to actually make that drink visually look good and taste good.
You mean I just can't add more ice and hope that it doesn't melt faster than the drink is consumed?
I would not suggest that, but you can.
While we're on
Okay.
cocktails, and I want to talk about the business aspect of this in a minute, but while we're on cocktails, you work for, and you can mention the name if you like because it's my show and you can do whatever you want. You work for my absolute favorite vodka company. I know you've got a great opportunity with them, and in my mind, that makes you the rock star in this business. I'm just curious, vodka as defined as odorless, colorless, tasteless. How do you make a good cocktail with that by putting the vodka forward, knowing that you're starting with my favorite spirit?
Well, your favorite spirit, I think you are talking about Tito's Handmade Vodka.
You got it. Got it.
Tito's Handmade Vodka, made in Austin, Texas, made by a wonderful man by the name of Tito Beverage. His vodka is unique in the sense that the base is a corn. So corn typically, when it's distilled and it's off the still, and we've actually tasted it warm off the still, it has his particular vodka has a lovely mouthfeel with just hints of vanilla, and so he designed this vodka specifically. When he originally made it, he was making infusions for Christmas gifts, and somebody said, "I think you've got something going on." So he has an all around wonderful, versatile vodka, and we've done a lot with it. I've been working with them for many years, but specifically the last 3. And for me, it's very easy to work with. Mm-hmm. It's very approachable. You can drink it on the rocks. It does impart a little bit of sweetness, and I think it's great with citrus, fresh berries. I mean, pretty much everything. It's a go-to. It's easy. It's on fire right now. Everybody wants it, and it's just a wonderful brand to work with.
By the way, to my listeners, it's not that I don't appreciate the fine value of Kettle One vodka anymore, because I do. They do a wonderful job. But a lot of my friends went over to Tito's when he was in the growth portion of his business, and they fell in love with it, and they started sending me bottles and going, "Jim, you got to try this." I was no longer in the vodka business. I was in the tequila business. I thought, man, what an incredible product. And I've had the opportunity to meet Tito on several occasions. And he's such a great business person. He's full of heart and love and passion in what he does. And, I just think how fortunate you are to be working with that company. As you mentioned, they are on fire right now. They are taking literally the world by storm with what they're doing. And this isn't a Tito's commercial, by the way, but I think that they're an incredible example from a business perspective that you have gravitated towards them and vice versa, and that you're working together, because it really shows me the success of your business and the craft cocktail culture that you've brought to the marketplace, and that you're working with somebody like Tito. Can you talk a little bit about, maybe one or two of the projects you've done in the past, maybe some of the cocktails that you've made? Because I just think it's so neat to see your success in working with somebody at that magnitude.
Well, we most recently, last year, we got listed on some cool menus with the Landry's Group, mm-hmm. and that's been very. It's been a delight to work with them, and to elevate that brand and crafting around it, using it as the hero, and elevating the brand as not just Topo and Tito's with an orange and a lime, but hey, this can support your menu. You can have an amazing cocktail, and the quality is there, and the price point is exceptional. Mm-hmm. So that's been, for me, I've been able to craft around it, do infusions with it, make limoncello with it, all kinds of different products that we've combined with it to elevate to that amazing experience that is only Tito's. So we've enjoyed working together for the last several years. Most of our work, we've done work with Omni, we've done work with Marriott, a lot of regional, local, and national accounts. One of my favorite things to brag about with the brand is they are vodka for dog people. As you know, I'm a big rescue person.
Yep.
It's near and dear to my heart. If anyone asks me, hey, would you come in and do mixology, and it's on behalf of dogs, I'm there. No question asked. No question asked. I will be there. And Tito supports that. They've done a lot with me in supporting Texas Restaurant Association. They've come in on the back end and helped with some non-for-profits, fashion and food here in Dallas. And I couldn't be happier to work with such an amazing company that supports a lot of non-for-profit that I believe in too.
Okay, so if there's any suppliers out there listening in the spirit category that needs a mixologist, make sure when you call Kat, you've got your foundation in mind for helping the dogs. I love that. Let's bring the business aspect into this, Kat, because I think at the end of the day, going back to you finding a love and a passion, as you suggested, came from your father and making that first soda. You've turned this into a business, and to hear about your work with Tito. And by the way, no small feat to be sandwiched in between Tito, probably one of the biggest vodka brands in the world, and Tillman Furtado. If you don't know Tillman, he owns the Landry's Group, which is the largest privately held restaurant group. You might have seen him on TV as the billionaire buyer. For you to be sandwiched between those two powerhouses is absolutely a success story. So from a business aspect, when did you realize this is a real business for me? I need a website. I need some support. I've got an accountant and all those other things. How long have you been operating as a real business, and what made you realize that?
I've been operating for now almost 3.5 years. I was working as a corporate mixologist for, at the time, a independent family-run distributor. And they were then, they merged with another giant distributor. And so at that point, I realized that, I wanted to do what I wanted to do and had a great relationship with multiple buyers, multiple suppliers. I have a nice group of suppliers that I work with that I am friends with, actually. And anytime they need me, I'm available to them. I don't think I've ever said no to anyone. Mm-hmm. Not to be coined as a yes woman, but when the opportunity arises, I'm there for them. If they call me at midnight and say, hey, by the way, can you get something done for me tomorrow? I need XYZ done. I'll do it. I've rarely said no to anyone. And my business started out with a friend. I didn't know what to do. And he said, you know what? I'll set up your website. I'll set everything up for you. I'll do your invoicing for you, and I'll get you going. And he did. And he is a good friend, and he works remote. He works out of Indiana. And at probably the second year into my business, I realized that I needed somebody more hands-on, local. And so I have a business manager who takes care of the day-to-day business for me, and then I travel as needed. And it's independence, it's freedom, it's a lifestyle that has been a joy. It's been extremely successful. I can tell you that I have a very good friend in Landry's. They have always supported me. All of their buyers know me, and I work with them, and I understand their concepts very well, and that's why I'm so successful for them. Mm-hmm. And one of the buyers actually said to me, the reason we love working with you is because you make us money. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't expected when he said that. I was like, oh, okay, wow. I don't think of it that way. Yeah. But I do want to win. I got written up twice last year for Forbes magazine and was thrilled by that. with two different suppliers.